Spot on, spot off. Rodney Childers tweeted that the team will only bring one car to Daytona because we can't get parts to build the backup car. TJ.
Spot off. That's not a good scenario to be in, and I don't think there's a lot of teams that are struggling for parts. We kind of had some concerns about if you weren't in a good transfer spot. Do you go into a little bit of okay, you're not going to make it in, let's not knock all these fenders off for no reason. There was talks like that because I don't think anybody has a ton of cars.
I heard multiple teams saying that they were just there to race and make sure their car came back. I mean, I had pieces on my car yesterday that are going on my Daytona 500 primary car.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people are in that position. That Stuart Haas has been very vocal about this for a while because they skipped the Daytona test too, right? Mm-hmm. Because they didn't want a chance tearing up a car.
Yeah, I mean, I would be willing to bet. I don't know this for sure. I know of a few teams, but I'd be willing to bet there's not a multi-car team that has a backup car for every one of their cars. You know what I mean? Like you don't. I'm sure you're not going with two backup cars.
If you're in contention for the win, then it's a different thing. Go for it. But if you're not, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to knock.
I'm just saying, like even when we get to Daytona, I doubt that they're like Stuart Haas ain't gonna have four backup cars, and I don't think 2311 is gonna have two of them. You know, I don't know any of the major teams that are gonna have enough backup cars that if they wipe out their whole fleet, they could just all get backup cars.
And I hate to say this, but we could wipe out a fleet
easily. And I think that the
duels. I mean, the duels are. I don't think we see a lot of pack racing. I think we may see some single file alignment to go out there and check speeds and whatnot, but I don't see a lot of pack racing and practicing. I think we only see the duels in the 500.
Yeah, I think you see some manufacturers get their guys together. Okay, let's just go out there.
Yeah.
You lead for 2-3 laps, switch it over, let somebody else lead. Maybe make some conservative moves, but nothing like
like
crazy.
NASCAR picked the vendors to supply all of these parts. So, for example, RCR is building all the lug nuts, right? Barney Visser is building a lot of the suspension parts, right? And I'm hearing those kind of things are now more readily available. I think where the struggle is like with the body parts, the 5-star. And what it's doing is it's not only putting us behind in the Cup Series, that same vendor supplies the Xfinity Series bodies. So now the Xfinity Series bodies are also hard to get. So what we saw early on, and if my source is correct, is that the distribution was even. In other words, if we had 40 people needing something, they made 40, they gave them out. Well, now they're going off of points. Well, if that's the case, now those slower, lower budget teams and smaller teams like Colleague Racing, like Rick Ware, we just talked about how impressive they were out west. Well, if they're not getting the same opportunity to get the same parts as everybody else in the front, well, they're going to be in trouble, right? So from a pure inventory management perspective, if NASCAR handpicked these vendors, NASCAR's got to be very careful that the distribution's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Daytona is going to look a lot different than Daytona has in the past. I think practice is going to look different. I think the races are going to look different. I mean,
thin.
Yeah, it's going to be. You got to remember, like when we ran Daytona 500 last year, if you went out there and destroyed your race car, you had 2 months to fix it to go to Talladega. You're bringing this thing to the West Coast. I don't know where you're running it, whether it's Vegas, California, Phoenix, but you need it in a week and a half to go to the West Coast again. So, whether there's two things I think play into this Daytona 500 that is going to be interesting to see. How much guys are willing to get in that pack and risk destroying a race car that they might need in a couple weeks. And listen, NASCAR has done a lot, whether it's behind the scenes or not, to alleviate the concerns of these drivers about how safe this car is. But with that being said, I don't think anybody wants to be the first one to really find out. And I think that the level of aggression, we've seen some guys are willing to be aggressive at these tests. They're pushing and doing what they want. And NASCAR announced the rule that they're not going to have a rule about pushing. So, I mean, it can get very aggressive out there. But I think you're going to see a lot of guys maybe ease back on the aggression level just for the fact that they don't want to be the first guy that wrecks this thing and risk something happening.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Didn't I see a rule that NASCAR has said they don't care where you get your backup car from?
I don't know.
Like if Colleague runs out of cars, they can go to RCR. If RCR runs out, they can go to Ralph's. Like, I mean, I saw some weird thing saying
if the car's certified, yeah. I mean, if the car's certified, it shouldn't matter.
Are you saying if in Daytona they run into an issue and one team has a spare part?
I don't want to talk about stuff I don't know what I'm talking about on here because I do that
that's
enough.
A first.
But when I don't know what I'm talking about, I'll admit it. And like I just heard something along the lines of, we're not limiting where you get your backup cars from.
Yeah. So in other words, if Stuart Haas doesn't wreck any cars and another Ford
front
team,
row or somebody.
Yeah, wrecks. A couple of them. They can go to them and be like.
Well, what's going to happen if we say, "Hey, we ain't got enough"? You just don't start. You just screw your sponsors.
You're out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. I mean, what
uncharted territory.
I mean, it is a risk for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's why it's just going to race a lot different than we have in the past because you literally need this car in 2 weeks. You don't have. Like,
what are they?
You don't have enough cars to. It's not like we have 5 primary cars ready to go for the next 4 or 5
Have
races.
they provided any background on timing, such as like the West Coast? A lot of these guys stay out there or have haulers meet halfway. Like if those cars would be ready after
They're not coming
Daytona.
home.
Right.
I heard. What did I hear the other day? Some Xfinity Series. They're gonna make you have to run the same car. I think at Vegas and Fontana. So I mean, assuming a lot of guys will just stay out there and work on the car now.
Yeah.
But I really don't understand what that does. I guess just
is it because the
cost
same
savings?
manufacturer?
Well, I mean,
this
it's
is
definitely saving because a lot of teams send cars out there on trailers.
Yeah.
And don't let the big truck come back.
I have
they
to.
send them out there.
I think it was Herm told me that the other day, and I haven't looked into it any since. But
we're just making up as we go. Everybody,
I know.
just bear with us.
no, I think
This is how
that
rumors
one,
get started.
I think that one was pretty accurate.